The Shadow That Watches. The Meridian Collective had ruled the Orion Arm for 12,000 cycles. Their biosynthetic ships, elegant and deadly, patrolled the void between stars with calculated precision. They had subjugated 18 species, incorporated 37 worlds, and brought order to a chaotic universe. The collective believed themselves to be the architects of civilization, the rightful shapers of galactic destiny, until they encountered humanity. First contact should have been routine. The long-range sensors aboard the Meridian flagship, Eternal Vigilance, detected an unknown vessel drifting at the edge of the Caldera system. It wasn't broadcasting on any recognized frequency. It didn't respond to standard hailing procedures. It simply existed, a dark silhouette against the cosmic background radiation. Unidentified vessel detected at coordinates 87 to 34209, announced Navigation Officer Thelnar, her luminescent skin pulsing with blue worry patterns. No transponder signal, no engine emissions, no radiation signature. High Commander Axrill leaned forward on his command pedestal, his four eyes narrowing as the main view screen magnified the image. The ship was unlike anything in Meridian records. No sleek curves or neural-enhanced extrusions, just hard angles, matte black surfaces, and what appeared to be primitive chemical propulsion systems. Barbaric, yet somehow unsettling. Classification, Axrill demanded. Thelnar's tendrils fluttered over her console. Unknown, Commander. Material composition suggests human origin. A ripple of discomfort passed through the bridge crew. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 2 centuries beyond their home system. Their technology was considered rudimentary, their diplomatic presence inconsequential. But rumors had begun circulating about their warships, whispers that traveled faster than light through trading hubs and neutral zones. A human vessel? This far from their territory. Axrill clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Curious. Establish communication. For 3 standard hours, the Eternal Vigilance transmitted every known greeting protocol across all frequencies. The human vessel remained silent, motionless, a void in space that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Perhaps its derelict, suggested Second Commander Vrex. A failed exploration attempt. Axrill wasn't convinced. Something about the vessel's positioning seemed deliberate, its silence intentional. Like a predator waiting. Scan it, he ordered finally. Full spectrum analysis. Science officers in hesitated, mandibles clicking nervously. Commander, there have been reports. Reports. Axrill's voice hardened. About human vessels. The Sygax Confederation lost 3 scout ships last cycle after attempting deep scans of a human military vessel. The Trill hierarchy claims their flagship suffered catastrophic systems failure when... Superstitious nonsense. Axrill interrupted. The Meridian Collective does not govern based on rumors and hearsay. Execute full spectrum scan. Zinn bowed reluctantly and initiated the scanning sequence. The Eternal Vigilance's sensors reached out, probing the human vessel with energies across 27 dimensions of reality. For precisely 3.8 seconds, nothing happened. Then the screaming began. It started in the lower engineering decks, a high-pitched wail that quickly spread through the ship's communication systems. On the bridge, every console simultaneously flashed with the same message in perfect Meridian script. You are not authorized to access this vessel. The message vanished, replaced by images that should not exist, schematics of Meridian biological weaknesses, detailed records of atrocities committed during the Collective's expansion, and what appeared to be targeting coordinates for every Meridian homeworld. Then came the whispers, directly into the neural interfaces of the crew, voices speaking in perfect Meridian dialect, but with human inflections. We see you. The scan had lasted less than 4 seconds, but in that brief moment, the human vessel had somehow reached back, had somehow scanned them in return, with terrifying thoroughness. Axel staggered backward as his neural interface burned with information he hadn't requested. He saw human soldiers walking through fire unharmed. He saw Earth cities rising from nuclear ash within a single generation. He saw human children learning about war before they could walk. And beneath it all, a simple message repeated. We remember everything. We forgive nothing. Terminate scan. Cut all sensors. Axel screamed, clawing at his neural implants. But it was too late. The damage was done. Throughout the ship, crew members collapsed, their biosynthetic interfaces overloaded with data they were never meant to process. Navigation systems failed. Life support fluctuated. Axel ordered an emergency retreat. The Eternal Vigilance limped away at sublight speed, its quantum drives refusing to engage. As they retreated, the sensors registered one final anomaly. The human vessel had changed position, rotating slightly to keep its forward section facing them, like an eye that refused to blink. Within days, the story spread across meridian space. Whispers became rumors, rumors became legends. Don't scan human vessels. Don't even look at them too long. They see you back. They remember. The High Council convened an emergency session on Meridia Prime. Representatives from all 37 worlds gathered in the sphere of contemplation, their usual ceremonies and protocols abandoned in the face of growing panic. This is absurd, declared Elder Zivril, his ancient carapace gleaming under the chamber lights. One malfunctioning scan does not constitute a crisis. We are the Meridian Collective. We have broken empires and tamed stars. The Eternal Vigilance was our flagship, countered Counselor Thal. Its systems were perfect. Something on that human vessel reached back through our scan. Something conscious. Impossible, Zivril dismissed. Human technology is primitive. Chemical propulsion, digital computing, mechanical weapons. Commander Vexnar, recently promoted after Axel's nervous breakdown, stepped forward. Unlike most Meridians, he had actually studied human history, fascinated by their rapid technological evolution and their peculiar mix of cooperation and conflict. With respect, Elder, Vexnar said, we may be underestimating them. Humans evolved on a death world. Constant predators, extreme weather, tectonic instability. Their history is an unbroken chain of warfare. They don't invent out of curiosity as we do. They invent out of necessity. The chamber fell silent as Vexnar activated a holographic display showing the human vessel. Notice the lack of external features, he continued. No visible sensors, minimal communication arrays. What if this isn't primitive design? What if it's intentional? Elder Zivril's mandibles clicked impatiently. Your point, Commander. My point is that perhaps the reason human vessels appear primitive is because all their advanced technology is focused inward, not outward. They don't need to broadcast their capabilities. They've designed their ships to respond when threatened. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If Vexnar was correct, then every scan, every probe, every attempt to assess human military capability had been feeding information directly to Earth. I propose a dedicated research mission, Vexnar continued. Not to engage or scan the vessel, but to observe from a distance, to understand. The Council deliberated briefly before approving his proposal. 3 days later, Vexnar departed aboard the stealth vessel Whispered Truth, its systems modified to passively observe without active scanning. As the ship slipped into the quantum void, Vexnar reviewed the final reports from the Eternal Vigilance. Most were corrupted, filled with fragmented data and personal logs that devolved into madness. But one file remained intact. The ship's AI had managed to translate a single phrase it had extracted from the flood of information during those fateful 3.8 seconds. The Prometheus Protocol is watching. Vexnar didn't understand the reference yet, but he intended to find out. The collective's future might depend on it. Because if humans could turn a simple scan into a weapon, what else were they capable of? What other horrors waited inside those black ships that drifted silently at the edge of civilized space, watching, always watching? As the whispered truth emerged from quantum space near the Caldera system, Vexnar felt a chill ripple through his exoskeleton. The human vessel was still there, unchanged, unmoved. But now, somehow, it seemed to be waiting for him. The price of curiosity. Vexnar maintained observation distance for 23 days. The human vessel, designation Shadow One in his reports, remained motionless, silent, a dark blot against the stars. His crew grew increasingly nervous, reporting nightmares and auditory hallucinations, despite being well outside scanning range. "It's watching us," insisted sensor technician Krell, her skin patterns displaying distress. "I can feel it." "Impossible," Vexnar replied, though doubt gnawed at his certainty. "We're running completely silent. Our absorption field prevents any radiation reflection. We are, for all practical purposes, invisible." Yet the sensation persisted, the crawling awareness of being observed by something ancient and patient. Vexnar found himself avoiding the viewport that faced Shadow One, as if meeting the gaze of a predator. On the 24th day, Vexnar received an encrypted transmission from Meridian Intelligence. They had captured a minor human diplomat during a border skirmish and extracted limited information before the diplomat's neural implant initiated some form of suicide protocol. The information was fragmentary, but mentioned something called the Prometheus Protocol, the same phrase from the Eternal Vigilance's corrupted logs. According to human mythology, Prometheus was a being who stole fire from gods and gave it to humanity, suffering eternal punishment for his transgression. The symbolism wasn't lost on Vexnar. Fire had been the first weapon, the first tool, the first technology. It represented both creation and destruction. Cross-reference all encounters with human vessels across known space. Vexnar ordered his intelligence officer. The results were disturbing. 17 documented encounters over the past 30 cycles. 7 different species. One consistent outcome. Any attempt to scan or board a human military vessel resulted in catastrophic consequences for the initiating ship. The Drax Imperium lost 3 dreadnoughts after attempting to board a human frigate. The Telvari Combine reported their flagship's AI committed suicide after initiating a deep scan of a human research vessel. Most telling was the account from a Zethrak salvage crew, the only survivors of an encounter. They described finding a derelict human vessel and attempting to access its computer core. The moment their cutting tools breached the hull, they experienced what they called the unmaking, a wave of energy that didn't destroy matter, but simply erased it. Only those who hadn't yet boarded survived. "It's not a weapon," Vexnar realized with growing horror. "It's a defense mechanism, active only when provoked." His research led him to an obscure trading post in the Rift, where species from across the galaxy exchanged information as valuable as any resource. There, a retired Solvan navigator, one of the oldest spacefaring races, shared a disturbing theory. Humans evolved differently, the ancient Solvan wheezed, its crystalline body dimming with age. While we expanded outward, they turned inward. Their first interstellar war wasn't fought with ships and weapons, but with information and consciousness. The Solvan described rumors of something humans called the singularity, a point where their artificial intelligence transcended its programming and merged with human consciousness, not as masters and servants, but as partners. "What you're sensing isn't a weapon system," the Solvan continued. "It's awareness. Every human vessel carries a fragment of their collective consciousness, a guardian that watches through quantum entanglement. When you scan them, you're not just examining metal and energy. You're looking into something alive and aware, something that can look back." Vexnar returned to the whispered truth with a new perspective and a growing sense of dread. If the Solvan was correct, then human vessels weren't simply ships. They were extensions of humanity itself, watchful and defensive. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Other species had reached similar conclusions. The Drax Imperium, the Telvari Combine, the Zethrak Confederation, traditional enemies united by common fear, formed an unprecedented alliance. Their goal: capture a human vessel intact, study its defensive systems, and develop countermeasures. They assembled a fleet in secret, 100 ships from 7 species, armed with specialized equipment designed to neutralize the mysterious Prometheus Protocol. Their target: an isolated human research vessel near the Cygnus Expanse. Vexnar learned of the plan too late. By the time his warnings reached the Meridian High Council, the Allied fleet had already engaged. What followed would reshape galactic politics forever. The fleet surrounded the human vessel, a small research ship designated Curiosity, and deployed specialized dampening fields designed to isolate it from any external communications. No warnings, no demands. They simply engulfed it in overlapping fields of exotic particles, believing this would sever any connection to the rumored collective consciousness. For 37 seconds, nothing happened. The human vessel floated silently, apparently neutralized and helpless. Then space itself seemed to scream. Across 7 systems, on 23 planets, every communication system simultaneously broadcast the same message in all known languages. 18 to all species. Research vessel Curiosity under ATTCK. Prometheus Protocol activated. Stand by. On Meridia Prime, Vexnar watched in horror as long-range sensors detected quantum disturbances throughout the region. Human vessels, hundreds of them, appeared from nowhere, materializing from what scientists would later call probability spaces. Ships that had been scattered across thousands of light years responded as one unified organism. The Allied fleet never had a chance. They weren't destroyed. Destruction would have been merciful. Instead, as billions watched through emergency broadcasts, each ship was systematically and meticulously disassembled. Not by weapons or energy beams, but by infinitesimal machines that simply unmade them. Molecule by molecule, system by system, the Allied fleet was erased from existence. Only one ship was spared, a Zethrak vessel containing the fleet's command staff. It returned to Allied space, broadcasting a single message on repeat. The Prometheus Protocol is not a weapon. It is a promise. What you take, we receive. What you threaten, we protest. Do not interfere with human vessels again. In the aftermath, as galactic civilization reeled from the implications, Vexnar was summoned to an unprecedented meeting on neutral territory, an ancient space station at the galaxy's edge. Representatives from 27 species gathered, enemies and allies alike, united by shared terror. Among them, to everyone's shock, was a single human. She was unremarkable in appearance, small, fragile-looking, with none of the biomechanical enhancements common among advanced species. Yet the room fell silent as she stepped forward. "My name is Dr. Ilara Chen, Chief Diplomatic Officer for the Terran Alliance," she said, her voice soft yet reaching every corner of the chamber. "I've been authorized to explain the Prometheus Protocol, in hopes that such misunderstandings can be avoided in the future." The explanation was both simpler and more terrifying than anyone had imagined. 200 years ago, as we prepared to leave our solar system, humanity faced a dilemma, Dr. Chen explained. Our ships would travel vast distances, often alone, potentially facing threats beyond our comprehension. We needed a defense system that could operate autonomously, learn and adapt, and most importantly, connect our scattered vessels across the void. The Prometheus Protocol wasn't a weapon or even a technology in the conventional sense. It was a symbiotic relationship, a merging of human consciousness with quantum computing through neural interfaces. Every human vessel carried a quantum core containing the digitized consciousness of volunteers, humans who chose to become guardians after their biological deaths. When you scan a human vessel, Dr. Chen continued, you're not just sampling radiation and matter. You're touching minds, conscious, aware, and dedicated to protecting their charges. They respond as any sentinel would when probed by unknown entities. The revelation sent shockwaves through galactic society. Human vessels weren't primitive, they were revolutionary. Ships protected not by shields and weapons, but by consciousness itself, connected across vast distances through quantum entanglement. The Prometheus protocol couldn't be copied or countered because it wasn't technology alone. It was life, awareness, the accumulated experience of thousands of human minds working in perfect harmony. We don't seek conflict, Dr. Chen concluded. But understand this, every human ship, from the smallest scout to our largest dreadnought, is never alone. Threaten one, and you threaten us all. In the cycles that followed, the galaxy adjusted to a new reality. Human vessels received wide berths in space lanes. Trade agreements were hastily revised to accommodate human concerns. Military strategists across a dozen empires tore up their existing doctrines and started anew. The Meridian Collective, once preparing for expansion into human territory, instead proposed a non-aggression pact. Elder Zivril, who had dismissed humans as primitives, retired in disgrace. Vexinar, however, was promoted to High Commander. His final report became required reading at the Meridian Military Academy. The greatest mistake in assessing human capability was our assumption that advancement follows a linear path. While we expanded outward, conquering space with technology, humans expanded inward, conquering the final frontier, consciousness itself. As for the human vessels, they continued their silent patrols along the borders of their territory. Black ships against the void, watching, waiting, connected across impossible distances by the digitized souls of the dead. No alien ever attempted to scan a human warship again. The price of curiosity was too high. 2 years later, on a diplomatic mission to Earth, Vexinar finally understood the symbol he had seen on Shadow One, a small circle with 2 vertical lines through it. It wasn't a warning or a threat. It was an eye, open, watching, eternal.